So Omri is one of those people I think in Seattle that many of you, I'm judging from the number of people that are here today, have heard of or known of. And it has, I think sort of the drive that it takes to sort of to do the entrepreneurial things that he's doing. And it's amazing, I think, to see people that have that capacity. And so I'm personally really excited to hear about how he is working through all the things that he's working on, and building the things that he's building, because there's some amazing stuff. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Omri Mor.
I just asked if I have to use the mic, because they don't like using them, because it makes you feel important when you're not. So, we're talking about humility, which I think is a funny thing. It's an important conversation, but it's a hard presentation. David and Fancy asked me to talk about, I think it was storytelling or ways to present your story online via the form of video in September. And I said, hell yeah, I know exactly what to say. And then about a week afterwards, they said that there was a slot opening up for talking about humility. And my immediate response was yes. And I really didn't think it through, because talking about humility is a tough conversation. At least I think so. So what I did is I said yes, and I didn't really think about it for a couple of days. And then it hit me. I said, oh shit. I Googled it, and I go, all right, this is what Google says. This is what the Webster Dictionary says. These are talks online. These are TED Talks. And I was like, this is going to be fucking hard. Because it's a really important thing, but I believe it's very hard to describe. So I kind of backtracked to the first time I heard the word or it encountered me. And it came back to, actually, I think I was 2 blocks. It was on First and Jackson. I was applying for a job when I was 19 at one of my mentors' startups. It was called PhotoRocket, and I was 19 and I wanted to run their UI UX. And I remember I walked into the interview, and I thought I killed it. Quote, I killed it, crushed it. Was fucking awesome, right? And I remember that there was 2 interviews, and Scott, the founder of the company, pulled me aside afterwards, and he goes, you know what feedback I got? You're a really cocky motherfucker. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of rude, Scott. He goes, no, you were kind of rude. You need to be more humble. And I knew I had a second interview, so I was like, cool, I'm going to be humble this time. Walk into the room. I'll actually show you what it was like. I sat there like this. I was really attentive, and I was quiet, and I listened, but I still had that very cocky motherfucker air to me. I thought I was 19, and I deserved that job. There was nobody better for that job than me. So I was really pleased with that second interview, because I was quiet, I was attentive, I listened, and I thought that's what being humble meant. And it sucked, because apparently that was not it. I said, Scott, how was that? And he goes, you're still a cocky motherfucker. I was like, shit. Apparently I don't know what being humble means. And that was a really hard thing to hear from someone you look up to. That was a really hard thing, because I knew I was passionate, I knew I was dedicated about my craft, about what I'm doing, about the impact that I want to have. But apparently humility wasn't in that circle. That's really funny because about 6 weeks ago, I had an interview. I interviewed someone for a job at Zebra, and they were a wonderful person with amazing talent, but I didn't hire them because I told them they were a cocky motherfucker. And I think it really struck them. And I told them that I didn't think that they were humble, or I didn't think that they exhibited an air of it. I've been talking with my friends on what does it mean to be humble and what does humility mean for the past 3 weeks ever since this talk started. And it's been kind of a shit show, to be honest, because I haven't been able to truly define it. But I can tell you humbling moments. And I think that's what I realized over time. I always thought that being humble is something that you achieved, that you gained over time, that there was a moment when you truly became humble. But I don't know if it's a spectrum, really. I think that over time, you have a lot of humbling moments where you exhibit humility. The first time I remember my dad telling me he was proud of me was a couple years ago. That was very humbling. I've been working my whole life to make that man proud. I started Zebra and ran out of money and went into debt. And I remember the day before shutting it down 2 years ago, a man by the name of Dave Gerard called me and said, I heard about your story and I have $50,000 to let you do whatever you want. That was a humbling moment. And I think what I've learned over time is that the people that I respect the most exhibit or show or demonstrate humility at times. And I think that is, to me, an awareness of self, an awareness of others, a deep care for the moment, a sense of being grounded. And it is something that I look for in my friends. It is something that I look for the people I work with. And I think that's one of the most important things in why we should be talking about this. Because I hope that somewhere in this room is a really cocky motherfucker. And I truly mean that. I think that in the creative community, in the creative world, and just people who are trying to do something with their life, in America, especially in America, I grew up in Tel Aviv, you are encouraged to have the ego, to say, I can do this. I will do this. I will succeed. I mean, shit, I grew up listening to hip hop music, and that is, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, fuck you, comma, I'm the best. And it's true, if you listen to a lot of music, a lot of culture, especially in the United States and in most countries, success is driven by ego at most times. I think what I've found out through essentially getting my ass kicked by life multiple times over the past 5 years, ever since that moment when I was called a cocky motherfucker, is that nothing is guaranteed, nothing is truly given, and being appreciative of those moments, like, you have humbling moments. I don't think one can achieve being humble, personally. I think one can show it. They are wonderful moments that help you understand better the world around you. And they are truly blindsiding moments. I don't know if any of you guys feel humble right now. I felt humbled when David asked me to come speak here. It's a very important thing to talk about. And I think when I thought of this talk, I wanted to have a conversation because I wanted to hear what you guys thought being humble means what humility means to you, because in the creative community, in the creative world, in order to succeed, it is necessary. And I think that, you know, in this room, we have a wonderful group of people that are doing something with their life, that are trying to be the best. So I thought, why not ask you guys? So does anybody want to share what it means to you? Because I want to learn as much as you do. You guys cannot leave me on the spot. Someone have to say something. Yeah, please.
I think that humility is born out of growth through inspiration.
Yeah, you got to do the same thing I'm doing.
Okay, I think that humility, and I've owned my own company. I closed it. I didn't sell it. It gave me not a sense of humility at first, but a sense of defeat and a sense of failure. And once I sat back and reflected on that and heard what people had to say around me about what I had done, I realized that what I gained was experience, and that failure is not failure. Failure is experience. I think once you have that, when you experience that, you can take that and turn it into something that gives you strength for the things you do in the future. So that's humility for me.
Thank you, because that's fucking awesome. Last night I was having the same conversation about, is it okay to be a failure? And my friend and I were talking about failure in the sense of we have companies, and every day you're on the brink of failure, essentially. Nothing is guaranteed. And I said, if failure happens, I'm okay with it. And she said, no way in hell. And a few years ago, I would have been in the stage of no way in hell. But today, failure is another point of learning and another experience which brings you to a new perspective. And I think that's important. That's super important. I hope everybody in here has failed many times. It sucks. I call it chewing on glass. It's like, and it really feels like it. You have a bloody mouth, and then someone asks you a question and you're smiling. When things go in the shitter, and people ask you, how are you doing? Martina, can I, you know what I mean. I mean, shit, my company almost went out of business in November, and we really had to pull it together. And people ask you, you know, in the creative community, in the entrepreneurial community, how are you doing? And you go, great, how have you been? Let's grab coffee sometime. Okay, good to see you. And then you sit down, and if you actually have a real conversation, you say, shit's hard. So I really appreciate that perspective on it, because it does take those moments where you are challenged and then appreciated and seeing a different perspective to feel humble. Is there anybody else that wants to give an awesome example? What's your name, by the way? Kate. Thank you, Kate. You rock. Yes, please.
Hi. Oh, hi. Good morning. I'm an artist, and I make my life making art, which is amazing. But I think the humility for me was like the example of the man who saved your business is doing by example. You don't be like a rap song, like telling everybody how awesome you are. Just get up and do it, and do those things, and show up. And, you know, if people need a helping hand, or do what you can, volunteer, or come to your friend's aid, or invest in businesses, or whatever you can do with your life, but just show it through your examples, and then you don't have to like bang down the doors and tell everybody how awesome you are.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really funny because you can't tell people how awesome you are. If I walked here on stage, I was actually thinking about this, David. I was like, I wonder how other people are going to give this presentation. Because I could have put the Latin meaning of humility and broken it done. And then I could have gone with the approach of, hi, my name is Omri and I'm humble. And you guys would have been like, he's full of shit. So I think it is an important conversation, because it is. I think it's a perspective, and it is a perspective. It is a series of moments over life. Maybe devout Zen Buddhists are truly humble. I've been trying to think of who is truly humble. I think my grandma is a very humble woman. I respect the shit out of her, but I've also seen her cocky motherfucker side. When my grandma makes her cheesecake, it's her cheesecake and there's nobody better at making cheesecake in the world. It's like, this is my domain and you guys can't interrupt that. So I think it's a wonderful thing. Is there anybody else? Yes, green shirt man. What's your name? Skylar.
Hey, earlier this year, I was working full-time as well as going to school full-time, as well as directing a hackathon, as well as trying to do a lot of other things. And for me, I found that I kept taking on things that I was really excited about, but I wasn't able to do it. And all of the things started to fall through the cracks, and I started to fail at a few of them. And for me, being humiliated and being humbled are two sides of the same coin, and it's all about how you perceive it and what you learn from it. And for me, I learned that I couldn't do all of those things to a certain quality at once, and realized that I just didn't have that capacity. So,
thank you. Yeah, as you see, this strategy is working really well because people are saying great shit, and I get to say this was my talk. No, but it's so true. I think, Skylar, thank you, because asking for help is really hard. One of the hardest things to do. You know, I wake up every morning, and every morning is hard. And it's hard because I'm trying my best to try my best every day. And most days you need to ask someone for help. And it's sometimes kind of embarrassing. You say, this is people's perspective of me. If I ask for help, am I weaker? But I don't think you're weaker, I think you're stronger. I think you're stupid not to ask for help. I'm not calling anybody stupid. But it's dumb. I think it's really important. And it's at those moments where you feel kind of embarrassed and you do need help, that's when you're humbled. That's why they're unexpected, because you can't plan for that. And I think that's why it's so important. Anybody else? I know that there was one more hand, please. Yes, this rocks.
I'm a producer, a web producer. I'm Meg Gaiman. I work for Creative Live. And one thing, I'm saying right now is this is a humbling experience because it's collaborative. I think collaboration is a big part of being humble and coming together and sharing ideas. Like, you may think that you have the best idea, and but then you get another idea from someone else. And as a producer, that's something that I have to work with. I work with instructors who are brilliant, and I have to share my expertise, and they have to be humbled by me, and I have to be humbled by them in many ways in order to make something amazing. So that's how I see humility, just being able to work together.
Thank you. Yeah. I will let you come up in 1 second. Actually, just come up and I'll start talking in the meantime as you walk. To make something truly amazing, you have to work with an amazing group of people, and that's fucking humbling. I go to work every day, and I have a team at Zebra that works with me, and I still cannot figure out why. I mean, we work crazy hours. We sometimes do all-nighters, and they're senile, but I guess so am I, for believing in what we believe in and working that hard. And I think that's fantastic, and that is humbling. So in order to achieve amazing collaboration, you have to feel somewhat humbled by it, because otherwise you wouldn't recognize it, right? Yeah. Please. Yeah.
This is about India. In India, there was an earthquake in Gujarat, and thousands of, actually millions of homes got destroyed. And this politician who built only 100 homes, he was publishing about himself in the papers and all that. But then the spiritual leader who we all work with, he built like 10,000 homes in the same spot. And I asked him, not even one word has been said in the paper about you. Why? You don't even want to publish it? He says, the right hand should not know what the left hand is doing. The humility lies in that whenever especially you're giving, don't toot your horn or blow your trumpet or something like that. That's how you should do. That's where the humility lies. That's a big lesson I learned in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess now I have to go build 10,000 homes. Anybody else? This is really awesome. Please, Mr. Thompson. Hey, everybody in this room, I have to tell you, there's a lot of people I love in this world, but I fucking love this guy. So, we did not set this up though.
Yes, this is Omri Mor, ladies and gentlemen. No, I know Omri pretty well, and I'll make this short. But humility is something that it's a tough one for me too. I grew up actually thinking that humility was required in order to be happy, and if you were cocky, that you were actually making it impossible to be fully happy or something like that. It was a weird mentality, and then over the years I've learned about self-awareness and confidence versus cockiness, and it's still a fine line I'm trying to walk. But I actually wanted to kind of ask Omri something and get him talking about this. A while before I went to work at Zebra last year, I was on the platform, so I got familiar with the site. And ultimately what Zebra does, which I'll always really respect, is it helps artists tell their story, because a lot of artists, while they're really good storytellers, they're not very good at telling their own story. Whether you're a musician or a painter or whatever, sometimes somebody says, what do you do? You're like, I paint. Like, what do you paint? Well, I don't know. And then you just kind of like jumble this mess together about your world that you create instead of being able to succinctly relay it to somebody. So the point to this ramble is what Zebra does is it helps these people tell their stories. And I guess my question is, if an artist who, like the lovely lady who came up here and said she makes a living with her art and she loves that, you have to be, I mean, how can you be proud of what you do and tell everybody in the world how amazing what you do is while remaining humble? And you have basically built a world that is trying to help people do that. But that's the question. It's how do you tell everybody on the planet how amazing what you create is while remaining humble? That's the challenge.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. That's a tough one. I go through this every day too. I'm trying to build a bigger company. I'm trying to hire more people. I'm trying to also contribute back to our community, and I'm trying to sleep. It's hard. I really mean that. Sleeping is hard. It's a fine line. I don't think you're just humble or just... You need to be passionate. You need to be proud. You need to be self-aware. And you can't be one or the other. That's why I said, like, humility or being humble is not something you achieve. It's not a spectrum. It's not something that when you get to a certain age, you're like, ha, I got the notch. It's right here. I am humble. Therefore, fuck all of you guys. That doesn't happen, at least in my perspective today. I don't know yet. I don't think I've experienced enough life to truly say that. But I do think it's important to be confident in yourself. I do think it's really important to be able to speak about why you're doing what you're doing. And that's what we really focus on at Zebra. Because it's funny, if you won't speak about it, Billy, who will? And I think who will, that's when other people say how wonderful your work is. And that's the humbling moment. So it's kind of like that, it's that balance where as a creative or as an artist or as a maker, you really have to be proud of your work because you know how much effort has gone into it. And it's great because most artists that I've met, when they show their work, that's when they shine. When they talk about their work, it's hard. But I would like to see more people being proud of who they are, what they're doing, how they're doing, being more proud of their challenges, right? I mean, it's fucking hard to make a living creating. And Yeah, I mean, you just have to do it. And I think being confident and being a cocky motherfucker is completely different. And the difference is I think being a cocky motherfucker, sorry for the language, but means that you think you deserve it, or you have the right to it. And being confident is understanding how much experience and knowledge you've gained over time, and that even though you're pressured or you're in the moment, you know that you have some sort of expertise or belief in self. Rather than deserving something, you just say, all right, I got this. Does that make sense? Cool. Anybody else? Yes, you with the cool shirt. And I'll get to you with a cool blazer. This is awesome. David, I hope this is okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mary and I'm a designer. So for me, humility is coming back to the point of being proud. Is, well, not that much being proud, but loving what you do and feeling passionate about it. And always remember that you always learn. You never stop learning, and there are always people smarter than you. And what you learn from others, you are also giving back to people who know less than you. So when you remember that there are people who are smarter than you, it naturally makes you humble. Yeah. And when you help people learn, it makes you proud and it makes you passionate about what you do. So that's, for me, humility. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note, about 2 years ago, one of my mentors, he's sold a few companies, lives in San Francisco, has a sweet house, has the best Miles Davis record collection I've ever seen. I asked him what keeps him drive, like what is his drive, and he told me, I'm a student every day. And I thought that was really cool. He goes, I don't want to be the teacher. I want to learn every day till I die. And I really have taken on that mentality, because you know what? The good, the bad, and the ugly happens every day. And it's really important to learn that and to be okay with it. Even if something bad happened, you were present in a moment over time and you learned that. That's awesome. So, yeah, learning is a huge part of the humility process. Anybody else? You had, oh yeah. Sorry, I will get to all of this because it's awesome. And are we running out of time? Like, what's time looking like? I'm good. This is great.
Hi, I'm Heather, and when I think of humility, I think of how my expectations of how the world works were not met. I started a business and I was raised to think that humility was for the weak, and that being humble was for the weak, and that if you were a cocky motherfucker, then life would turn out. And I started a business right out of college, and it failed. And my expectations for life were not met, and that was humbling. And the reason why my business failed is because I never asked for help. And I was a cocky motherfucker. And now I'm not. And this is, by the way, a $3 blazer from Value Village.
Ben Haggerty would be so proud. This is like I used to be, or I am a cocky motherfucker, like anonymous, and this is awesome. Because all of you guys have to be at some point. You guys are all creative. How many of you guys are in the design world? Raise your hand. There you go. How many of you guys have Dribble profiles? Oh, that's it. Okay, where Behance? Where do you display portfolios? You have to be like, that's my shit. I'm so proud of it. You gotta walk in the room and be like, I'm landing this job, and you've seen my portfolio, and it is happening now. And point being is that so true. You have to exhibit that air of confidence when you're gonna go land that job. you also have to feel fortunate for it too, for being given the opportunity to get that job. Can I have you come up to speak? Thank you.
My name is Kay, and I just closed out a 30-year business at the end of 2014 called the NLP Center for Change, and am now in the process of giving birth to the NLP, no, it was NLP Choices. The new one is NLP Center for Change. And I help people design their lives and work with the human computer, which is a soft, living thing, to help us be who we want to be. But in thinking about what makes us our best self, we don't think there's any such thing as failure in the world of NLP, only feedback. And I think the most powerful position is the position of being vulnerable. And being vulnerable means being totally open to the possibilities of your life and totally in faith that your life has meaning and purpose. That if you stay committed and don't let anything stop you, that is the most humble position there can be, because you believe that you were created for a purpose. So I think life and the journey is a sacred trust, and that as we do it, humility is the result, not the vehicle. Does that make sense? Thank you.
That was some deep shit. But Billy, thank you, because Billy, to your earlier point, I think to be a great artist, or the artists that I've gravitated to the most over time, we're so vulnerable. And that's such a hard thing to do. And I think, well, me speaking, it's hard to be vulnerable because you do need that group of people around you. Being vulnerable on your own is hard. Being vulnerable and having a supporting cast around you, whether it's your family, friends, acquaintances, people you just met, that's I think, that fine line that you need to exhibit to gain your confidence, essentially, when being an artist. I mean, everybody who's just come up here has been vulnerable. Speaking in front of an audience is really fucking hard.
So I think vulnerability is really about perspective. I think that you can do something and you know that you're doing it better than most people you know, and that's fine. I don't think that makes you cocky or not vulnerable. I think probably the moment that sort of sticks when you guys are talking about vulnerability is when my grandmother passed away. Watching an older person sort of, she passed away from cancer, so sort of like fall apart. I think that makes you realize, okay, I'm just a person. I'm a bag of bones and skin. And just understanding other people, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, that makes you humble, because it's fine to be confident. It's fine to know yourself. It's fine to talk about what you do, but also knowing, where you stand in relation to the rest of the world.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sir, and I'll get to you soon. This is really awesome, thank you. Because essentially you guys are giving a talk and I'm just being a little moderator. And I've always wanted to do that.
Hey, my name's Mike. And I agree, this is a great discussion. For me, being humble, to me, the opposite of being humble is not arrogance. Humble to me is kind of the midpoint between arrogance and worthlessness. So I think vulnerability is a great word, because humility is kind of a managed vulnerability. You're finding that edge to be confident when you need to, but receptive and open enough to the fact that you need help from other people. And neither one of those things in excess is good, but you have to kind of ride that edge constantly. So humility to me is the midpoint. It's not the opposite of confidence.
He should be giving this talk. Would you like to come up? It's true though. Like I said, I don't think that being humble is a spectrum necessarily, or that it's not achievable. It's somewhere in between feeling this and that. And I think worthlessness is a good perspective.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm actually a sophomore in high school.
Did you skip school to come here?
No, it's spring break. Spring break.
Not as cool.
I would though. I would skip school.
I am kidding.
Well, you know, you learn in other places too. So, for me, humility, part of that, a big part of that is empathy and knowing that you have to accept yourself and your own capabilities and limitations, but you also have to accept those of other people, which, I mean, is a big part of working in a team as well, which, as we've all said, is important for humility. So I think you have to try and understand where other people are coming from and their backgrounds, how they feel in situations, and try to accept everything about them as well, because I think that makes you a better person. It helps to make them a better person. Thank you.
Can I just say that hearing that from a high school student is pretty humbling.
That was cool. And that was cool because, God, you're more mature than I am. Really, though, I mean, you should be proud of that. I envy that. I applaud that. That's awesome. And you shouldn't really give a shit that I applaud that. I'm just saying, go you, because that was really cool. You are how old are you? Yeah. Whew. You did not want to meet the 16-year-old version of me, because before there was cocky motherfucker, there was a lot worse shit. God. Do we have to keep going? Can we make that the ending note? Like, do we need to keep... Can everybody agree that that was the best part of their morning? Thank you. Thank you for everybody that spoke. I really appreciate learning from you. And I really hope that what this would be, because for the past 3 weeks I've been dreading this talk, because it was going to be hard. Because it's not something you can tell somebody how to do. I was really hoping that I could talk about videos, because it's like, all right, this is how you do it, and this is how you're supposed to talk about it. But there's no real formula to this. I just think it's a really important conversation to have, and being humbled is a wonderful thing. And I think over time it just hits you, and it helps you really appreciate who you are, the people around you, and the situation you're in. So you guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day.